I was halfway through my morning coffee when I saw it. A birthday video my mother posted at midnight. Balloons, laughter, candles, and in the middle of it all, my little sister, their sunshine girl. Mom's voice off camera said, "She's the only one worth celebrating this week." That sentence cut cleaner than any knife. My name, Megan Taylor, wasn't in the caption. It was my birthday. For 29 years, I've been the invisible one, the reliable one, the one they call when something breaks. But that morning, watching them cheer for her, I realized something had broken for good. Not the family, me. I never imagined my birthday would start with the smell of burnt coffee. At 9:12 a.m., I sat in a small cafe on Kirkwood Avenue, steam curling from a cappuccino beside my laptop. I was drafting a short thank you note to my staff, half awake, half proud of how far we'd come. Then a bright blue notification slid across my screen. Linda Taylor posted a new video. I tapped it. Light, balloons, laughter, the sound of happy birthday filling the frame. And there she was, Clara, in a pale yellow dress, candles flickering before her, frosting spelled out to the brightest star of this family. My mother's voice chimed behind the camera, sweet and certain. She's the only one worth celebrating this week. My hand shook. The cup tipped. Coffee spilled across the receipt, pooling near my laptop. Someone at the next table asked if I was all right. I nodded, throat tight, stomach hollow. The post was uploaded at 11 last night, exactly 1 hour before the day turned over. There was no message waiting for me this morning. No call, no text. Just that video. I scrolled through the comments. Heart emojis from family friends. My father's cheerful line. "So proud of you, kiddo." Not a single mention of me. Through the glass, my reflection stared back, calm, polite, and completely numb. Then I caught the faint echo of my father's voice in the clip. "Smile for me, sweetheart?" The same voice that promised to drop by today with a cake. So that's where he'd been, filming. Clara lifted her wrist toward the camera. A diamond bracelet flashed under the lights. The exact design I'd sent Mom months ago. The one she'd called too expensive. It glittered on Clara's hand now, bright and careless. I closed the laptop, slipped it into my bag, and stood. Outside. Early spring wind cut through my coat, sharp and clean. I told myself maybe it was a misunderstanding, but deep down, I knew better. For 29 years, I'd been the shadow behind the Taylor spotlight. Only now did I realize how blinding that light could be. That afternoon, I sat in the clinic long after closing, absently stroking Max's graying fur. The heater hummed, rain ticked on the window, and the silence pressed in until I could hear my own heartbeat. I opened my phone. The family chat buzzed with photos of Clara holding balloons, Mom typing, "So proud. Can't believe she's 25. Dozens of hearts. Not one mention of me." Our family had always followed the same script. Clara was the light, the joy. I was the steady one who never needed attention. Mom and Dad played the loving parents in a story everyone admired. I paid Clara's credit card bills, helped them save the farm, wired money each month to keep things running. Each time I questioned it, Mom said, "Clara needs help. Honey, you're strong." That word, strong, had become their excuse. I opened the Taylor Farm account and froze. Under authorized signers appeared Linda Taylor and Clara Taylor. My name, the owner, sat quietly above theirs. No notification, no consent. Searching my email, I found a message from 3 years ago. "Your account has been updated. Approved by Mrs. Linda Taylor." The attached form showed a crooked imitation of my signature. I stared at it, the room spinning slightly. Max lifted his head, and I whispered, "Guess I'm not strong, just stupid." I printed every page, the paper hot in my hands. At the bottom, $48,327 withdrawn, authorized by Linda Taylor. I laughed under my breath, cold and dry. The worst part wasn't that they'd taken it. It was that they knew I wouldn't fight back. That night, The lamp's reflection caught an old photo on my wall, Clara and me on a pony, both laughing. Mom stood behind, watching only her. I'd always been in the frame, never in the focus. I remembered every time they chose her. Graduation, Clara fainted, and they missed my speech. The college award. Mom skipped it for Clara's recital. My 25th birthday, Clara got a Florida trip. I got a text that said, "Busy week. Love you." Back then, I called it love. Now it felt like training. Sorting papers. I found a bill, rhinoplasty, Clara Taylor, paid from Taylor Farm account, cosmetic surgery, financed by me. I opened Facebook. Clara's newest post glowed. So grateful for my family. Couldn't have done it without them. Tears blurred my vision, but it wasn't anger. It was clarity. I wasn't part of their picture. I was the frame that made it stand. I closed the laptop, whispered to my reflection, "I'm done being the background." Before bed, I printed the final statement, 48th 327th, glowing under the lamp. For the first time, the truth felt cleaner than the lie. I sat on the living room floor, surrounded by bank statements spread like white snow across the carpet. The lamp cast a pale light over the number that had haunted me for weeks, 48th 320th, withdrawn over 5 years. The red pen in my hand circled each transaction, every loop of ink slicing deeper into what little trust I had left. I traced every withdrawal, $2,900, family equipment repair. But Clara's Instagram showed her in Italy that same week, 1,150, farm maintenance. The same day she posted her new camera, 3,800, medical expense. The rhinoplasty bill, every dollar I sent to save the farm, had been poured into their perfect, filtered lives. Then I saw it. Dad's secondary card still linked to my work email. They had access to everything, for years. They'd watched my finances as if I were their private account. I checked my voicemail. Dad's voice played softly, almost kind. "Sweetheart, Clara's moving back home. Could you help her a little? Just until she finds her footing." His tone was warm, practiced, the kind that used to melt me. This time, it shattered something instead. I opened my laptop and typed without hesitation. Attached are the last 60 months of transactions. I've been funding this family long enough. It ends today. When the message sent, the screen blinked. Linda Taylor, message opened. Seconds later, another notification, reply. "We'll talk about this on Sunday." Dear Sunday. The same day as the Welcome Home Clara party. Not an invitation to explain, an order to fall back in line. Max shifted beside me, his eyes catching the light. I rubbed his head and murmured, "They think I'll fold again." The reflection in his dark eyes was steady. I wouldn't. The morning of the party was cold. The fields around Taylor Farm veiled in fog. I drove there with a small box on the passenger seat, a homemade cake with a single candle shaped like the number 29. No one had asked me to come. I came anyway. Inside, laughter spilled through the house. Music, perfume, champagne. Everything glittered. Mom greeted me with the same rehearsed warmth she reserved for strangers. "Oh, Megan, didn't expect you'd make it. You're always so busy." I smiled. "Found a little time. It happens to be my birthday, too." No one reacted. Dad poured wine. Clara glowed under the lights, surrounded by the people who had long forgotten I existed. Mom handed her a velvet box. When Clara opened it, the diamond bracelet caught the light. The same one I'd once saved a photo of. The one Mom said was too expensive. It sparkled on her wrist now, paid for by the same account they'd emptied. When I asked, Mom only said calmly, "From family funds. You never needed shiny things." I left my small cake at the edge of the dessert table, unnoticed among the silver trays, and stepped outside for air. Through the window, Clara live-streamed her perfect life, the comments glowing with envy. On Mom's phone screen, reflected in the glass, I saw the payer name flash, Taylor Farm account. Owner, Megan Taylor. The chill cut through me sharper than the wind. I lifted my phone and took a picture of that untouched cake, The lone candle bent slightly, and sent it to myself with the caption, "The one they didn't celebrate." That night, I wrote a second email, brief and cold. "You owe me 48,327. This is theft, not family." My phone buzzed nonstop, but I turned it face down. When I got home, Max trotted over, tail wagging. I knelt beside him, whispered, "They'll come after me now." Then I pulled the old folder from my drawer, the one marked Taylor Farm, 2018. The deed sat inside, and at the top of the page, my name was printed in bold, owner, Megan Taylor. For the first time, the truth belonged entirely to me. Monday morning, Naomi glanced up as I walked into the clinic. "You look like you wrestled with ghosts," she said. I smiled weakly. "Just family." Before I turned on my computer, my phone rang. Mom sobbing, Dad cold, Clara accusing. Mom begged me to stop ruining the family. Dad warned me not to start a war. Clara texted, "You're jealous. It's not that deep." I set the phone face down. Naomi murmured, "You treat every creature with kindness, except yourself." It stung more than it should. Then an alert blinked on my laptop. Unusual transfer attempt. Taylor Farm. Mom was trying to move the remaining balance. I canceled the transaction and called Caleb Morgan, my old classmate turned lawyer. "I need to know what's really mine." Hours later, he sent a file, primary owner, Megan Taylor. The farm I'd once rescued was legally mine. They'd never repaid a cent. For the first time, silence didn't feel empty. It felt powerful. That night, Dad's email came. "We need to talk. Sunday. No lawyers. No warmth. Just warning." I scribbled on the printed contract. "This time, I bring the light." Rain blurred the windshield as I parked outside the old farmhouse. Inside, the air smelled of candles and damp wood. Dad sat rigid, Mom's arms crossed, Clara staring at the floor. "We just need to settle this quietly," Dad said. "No need to humiliate anyone." I projected the files onto the wall, bank statements, forged signatures. Mom jumped up. "I did what I had to do. You'd let us starve." I answered, calm. "You mean without my money?" The deed appeared next. Primary owner, Megan Taylor. Mom froze. Dad's voice cracked. "You can't be serious." "I am. This land is mine." I set an envelope down. "Sign it, or see me in court." Clara cried she didn't know how to live alone. "Then start learning," I said, walking to the door. Behind me, Dad whispered, "You were right. I should have protected both of you." Outside, rain and tears mixed on my face. The real war had just begun. 2 months after the confrontation at the farm, the summons arrived. Linda and Henry Taylor vie. Megan Taylor, misuse of family property. Clara listed as a witness. In Bloomington, gossip spread like wildfire. The daughter sued by her parents? No, the other way around. The courtroom was small, old, its benches hard and cold. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Beside me sat Caleb Morgan, calm and precise, flipping through our evidence binder. Across the aisle, my mother wore pale blue and practiced grief, my father stiff and silent, Clara pale with her eyes fixed on the table. The judge read aloud. The plaintiffs claim Megan Taylor illegally took ownership of Taylor Farm LLC. Caleb rose, his voice steady. "Your Honor, here are 5 years of financial records proving my client funded and maintained that property entirely on her own income." The projector whirred to life, casting receipts, forged signatures, and wire transfers across the wall. Every click of the mouse felt like another nail sealing the coffin of their lies. Then came the first blow. Caleb played a short clip from the Welcome Home Clara party. Laughter, champagne, and my mother's voice clear as a bell, all thanks to Megan's account. The courtroom fell into silence so heavy it felt sacred. The judge looked at my mother. "Mrs. Taylor, do you have an explanation?" she stammered. I thought she knew. "We share everything as a family," Caleb replied coolly. "Sharing without consent isn't family. It's theft, Clara suddenly stood, tears streaking her makeup. "Your Honor, my mother told me Megan would never find out. She said it was fine. It wasn't." Gasps rippled through the room. My mother's face drained of color. My father bowed his head. The gavel struck. The court finds the defendant, Megan Taylor, the rightful owner of Taylor Farm LLC. The plaintiff's claim is dismissed with prejudice. Silence followed. No applause, no outrage. Only the stillness of truth settling into place. Outside, as we walked down the courthouse steps, my mother averted her eyes. My father paused, touched my shoulder, and whispered, "You won." I met his gaze, voice low but firm. "No, I just stopped losing." Night fell quietly over the city. When I stepped into my apartment, the air was still, carrying that faint mix of rain and coffee I'd left behind that morning. I slipped off my shoes and turned on the lamp. The soft yellow light spilled across the small living room, warm and forgiving. On the table lay an envelope stamped with the courthouse seal. Inside, the official decree confirmed what the world now knew. Taylor Farm. Owner, Megan Taylor. I set it down beside an old photograph, Clara and me at 9 years old, laughing on horseback under a wide Indiana sky. For a moment, I let myself remember that day, before expectations and debts and silent competitions. 2 little girls who believed love was simple. My phone buzzed. A message from Dad. "I know you don't owe us anything, but if you ever want to talk." "I'm here." I stared at the screen until the words blurred, then placed the phone face down. Some things didn't need replies. Instead, I pulled out the wooden box buried in the bottom drawer, the one filled with letters, photos, and pieces of the past I never had the courage to burn. On top was a faded picture. Mom and me, smiling on the front porch, arms linked, the summer before everything cracked. I touched the corner of the photo, wondering when her love had started costing interest. The next morning, I walked into the bank with the court document folded neatly in my hand. The clerk smiled politely as I signed the papers to sell Taylor Farm. The pen felt heavier than it should have. By the time I walked out, I'd made a promise to myself. 30% of the sale would go to the Blue Paw Rescue Fund, the animal shelter I'd once dreamed of starting. The rest, I decided, belonged to the future, not the past. Outside, the autumn air carried the scent of wet leaves. For the first time in years, it didn't smell like regret. By noon, my phone rang again. I almost ignored it, until I saw the name. Clara. Her voice was rough, small. "Megan, I'm sorry. I'm starting over. Got a job at a pharmacy. No more shortcuts." Her words trembled like someone learning to walk. "Good," I said quietly. "Keep going." For a long time after the call ended, I sat on the couch listening to the city hum outside my window. Horns, footsteps, life moving forward. It struck me how healing rarely sounds like triumph. Sometimes it's just the quiet absence of pain. As the day faded, I stepped onto the balcony. The sun sank behind the brick rooftops, painting the city in amber and gold. I held a warm mug of coffee, letting the steam rise against my face. Down below, someone laughed, a sound so full it felt foreign in my chest. I whispered to no one in particular. Forever can end, but peace can begin. The last light of evening reflected against the glass door, and there I was, backlit by the sky, shoulders straight, face calm. For the first time in my life, my reflection didn't look like someone waiting to be chosen. It looked like someone finally free. A year later, the world felt new. Nashville, Tennessee. A small storefront with soft blue letters read Blue Meadow Veterinary Clinic. Morning light spilled through the wide windows, catching dust motes that danced above the counter. The scent of roasted coffee and faint antiseptic filled the air, blending with the hum of country music playing low from an old speaker. I was 30. The name tag on my white coat read Dr. Megan Taylor. On the counter sat a small cake with pale frosting and a simple line written in chocolate. "You made it." Friends and colleagues filled the room, Naomi with her easy laugh, Caleb holding a mug of coffee, a few familiar clients who had become family. No one mentioned what I'd lost or who I used to be. They just smiled, passed plates, and sang quietly as I blew out the candle. The flame went out with a soft hiss, and in that breath of smoke, something like gratitude settled in my chest. After the small celebration, I walked home through the golden morning, Max trotting beside me. He was slower now, but still loyal, his tail brushing my leg. At home, I sat by the window with him curled against my feet. The mail lay on the table, a postcard from Clara. Happy birthday, Megan. I'm finally standing on my own. Thank you for letting me grow. I placed the card beside my coffee cup and looked out at the Nashville skyline. The sunlight was different here. Warm, forgiving. Nothing like the gray winters of Bloomington. This time, I whispered, I'm the one worth celebrating. Max rested his head on my knee. There were no fireworks, no applause, only the quiet hum of peace. And in that stillness, I understood. The curse of being the strong one had finally lifted. I didn't need to be chosen anymore. I had chosen myself. The imaginary camera pulled back through the glass, catching the reflection of sunlight across the sign outside, Blue Meadow. And somewhere in that glow, my voice lingered. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it breathes quietly, like peace after a long storm.